Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of What I Feel Like Friday. This is going to be a very Phoenix-centric, specific, this week only, really-ish episode, because I'm going to be talking about a couple of plays I saw this week. First, I saw The Color Purple on Wednesday, and then tonight I just got back from seeing Godspell. The Color Purple is kind of a touring show that's coming through and is just here in Phoenix for the week at Gamage. It closes Sunday before moving on to another city, whereas Godspell just opened tonight over at my old job, Phoenix Theater, and they're running for another few weeks at least. So Color Purple first, I went in very, completely unknown on this show. I knew it was a movie. I knew it was a revival of a Broadway musical. I didn't know which had come first in the whole grand scheme of things. I didn't find out until afterwards that the movie came first, then it was made a musical, and then a revival of a musical about a decade later in the last couple years. So going into it, I didn't know any of the music, really. I didn't know the story, and Gamage, if you are unfamiliar, not great with acoustics sometimes. So there was a lot of the dialogue in the first few songs that I just didn't follow along, couldn't grasp necessarily what was going on. I was getting a little confused in some of the characters and whatnot. I was also sitting in the mezzanine, so I'm, a couple hundred feet away from the performers on stage, so I was getting a little confused in who was who and what was going on. But eventually, it really turned around, especially in the second act. I really enjoyed kind of where that show went. It is very much a show about kind of an African-American woman who's kind of put upon and abused and whatnot, and she very much finds her voice, and it's really fun to see kind of her rise out of the tragic circumstances that she kind of lives in the first act of the musical to the second act. In kind of reading a little bit more about it, this revival is a much more kind of pared down version of the show, very minimalistic in terms of set and whatnot. In doing so, you don't quite understand where we are in time over the course of the show, because this is a show that probably spans 30 years time in this character's life. But it's hard to track kind of where in the 1900s we are. For the better part of it. So I was a little, that was a minor little thing, but I was like, I have no idea when this is supposed to be taking place. Presumably there would be other wars or something going on in the bigger scope of the world than this little kind of specific story we're looking at, but I wasn't getting any kind of touchstones to the broader world. So it was just a little hard to kind of land and figure out where we were in time on the show. But the main actress playing the role of Celie was phenomenal and really has some great stuff, especially in the second act. Performances all around were really fun and really impressive. I really had a good time for a show that I knew nothing about going into it. Godspell, a little bit of a different story. It is very much a show that is not my kind of show. 70s Stephen Schwartz, very, classic era of Broadway. And from the first couple numbers, I was like, this is just a cacophony of noise. It's, noise that is sung very prettily, but they're just 3 or 4 characters just singing on top of each other, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be focusing on. And then when you have kind of all of the disciple characters, if you were unfamiliar, Godspell is basically you've got Jesus, and then you've got Judas character, and then everybody else is playing a disciple, and they just kind of tell a lot of parables, a lot of biblical parables, and then throw in some songs to kind of supplement all that. So it's a very religious show, and they kind of, they played with it. They kind of modernized some of the parables in terms of what was it? The story of Lazarus. One of the the bad guy character in the story of Lazarus was very much supposed to be a Trump analog. They do a little bit of audience participation stuff here and there, and I was like, please don't call me, please don't call me. They did not, so whew, lucked out there. It's fun seeing the main guy here, a gentleman by the name of Michael Sample. He plays the lead role of Jesus, And it was fun seeing him because, and I was telling one of my friends this at intermission, he and I were in one of my very first theater classes. We shared intro to technical theater together. He was, I think, kind of nearing his graduation, about to leave ASU, but he needed like a theater electorate, and he took that class, and so it's been fun seeing him pop up at stuff like Phoenix Theater over the years, including this show. It's like, oh, like I remember when we both took that class and probably had about the same hair, very kind of Jesus-y looking hair. Like good performances, staging was fine, but it was very much like this is a show from the 70s, and I'm not really getting anything out of it. The audience was having a good time, a better time than I was, I think, but yeah, just not my kind of show. So those were my theater experiences this week: The Color Purple at Gamage and Godspell over at Phoenix Theater. Apparently I'm just kind of in a spot now where I like go long spans of time without seeing anything, and then I go and see 2 or 3 shows in a weekend or a week. So because I have, looking ahead at my like theater schedule for the rest of the year, I think I've got like another instance of that kind of coming up later in May, I think, where I'm going to be seeing like back-to-back shows. So yay! But yeah, those are my thoughts on these kind of shows. I would ask if you have any thoughts on Godspell or The Color Purple, but you're probably not watching this if you do. So let me know what musicals you like in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time from here at the Trove, treasure your friends. Now I'm going to get back to God of War.